Good afternoon, everybody. It's 2:05 p.m. on March 28, 2024. And before I get into the topic of the day, which is leaked DHS or Department of Homeland Security instructions to local police departments and your neighbors from 2020. So I will not confirm or deny that these are accurate documents. They sound like it to me based upon the information within. You do your own research and provide feedback and let me know if you feel that these 3 documents are verifiable and work for you as a watch-listed person. Okay, it's a watch-listed person. Placed on a watch list, on some list. Okay? So now, please hit the thumbs up. My name is Lorraine, Alternative Homesteading. I moved from 52 Sutton Drive in Manalapan, New Jersey, in a home I lived in for 30 years as the original owner, and I became targeted there. I know for a fact that it's at least since 2012, but the more I look back, it's probably closer to 2009. I want to thank the subscriber for taking the time and also to watch my videos and to take the time to track the helicopters, I call them copters, that flew directly over my 501c3 nonprofit cat rescue building yesterday at 9:20 a.m. approximately, because they mess with the clock inside the building, my watch. So we're talking about approximately 9:20 a.m., at which time I heard it approaching, ran to get my phone, clicked on the record button, plopped it up, face towards the sky. When I went back into the cat's building, my phone battery was dead and the phone was turned off. When I turned the phone back on again, the battery said 20%. There was absolutely no reason for my phone to be turned off. However, thank you so much, subscriber, I won't mention your name, to track through an online website called Flight Radar 24. This is where you can track aircraft that passes by. You can also call the FCC, and they will likely not take your phone call and never get back to you. They're supposed to let you know whether or not the aircraft over your property is licensed, registered, and on their radar. Because, they have to track air traffic. What if there's an unknown object in the sky flying around and it bumps into, crashes with another copter or a plane or, whatever. So you've got these copters flying around up there, chasing down, hunting down targeted people. And now this is what he found. Okay. So just shortly before this helicopter entered my lands, my property line, they turned off their transponder. And then after they departed my property, going south, they turned their transponder back on again. So during the entire time that he was traversing my property up in the sky, he turned off his ability to be seen on radar by anyone else traveling in the sky, and for me to photograph them, capture them. I don't know, it sounds a little nefarious to me, doesn't it? Sounds very nefarious. Why would a bona fide aircraft flying in the sky want to turn off their transponder and potentially creating an air traffic accident? Why would somebody do that? Anyway. So now I wanted to mention that yesterday I heard a high-pitched sound coming out of the shed, the one that was vandalized, with the black squares underneath the plastic boxes and stuff that they had broken into and etched and burned my shelves and charred, scratched, and etched stuff in the wood of the shelves and the beams. So I heard it all day long, and I just didn't get a chance to go into the building till later in the day. I walked to the building, and lo and behold, both locks are open. Open, unlocked. Do you remember how on my recording I specifically said to the copper on the phone that I'm very fastidious about locking my buildings? This is what's called a psychological operation. They want to make me doubt that I locked that building. They want to make it appear as if I forgot. But I'm going to tell you, coppers, I didn't forget. I always locked that building. And when I went in there, guess what that high-pitched sound was? It was the Wi-Fi extender to equipment that was interfered with by somebody's Wi-Fi jammer. And I had to reset everything to make the high-pitched sound disappear from all the electrical devices in there that went offline because you broke into my building, disrupted the Wi-Fi so that you wouldn't be caught on camera, and then left it unlocked. Now, they did something also ridiculous in the same night. They went into one of my chicken coops. They actually unlocked both locks, went in there, and when I opened the door in the morning, it was like somebody had trashed the chicken coop. There was a spray bottle that was twisted open, spilled all over the floor. One of their perches was deliberately torn off the wall, and the bracket was removed. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to remove a bracket? There was stuff everywhere. Their chairs were tipped over. It was like there had been a massive fight. But then they locked the door behind. This is called a psychological operation. Not only is it trespassing, vandalism, harassment, it is a psychological operation designed to drive you crazy when you talk about it. Now, the primary tool of the narcissist is the defamation and slander campaign. They spread defamatory narratives, dossiers throughout your community when you move in. This happened to me when I moved to remote rural Kentucky, Jackson County. When I moved here, I knew 0 people in this town. In this whole county, I knew no one. How would anyone know anything about me? How would they know? I didn't even tell anything to the selling realtor. Nothing. And since I was the one purchasing the property outright with cash, they didn't have any bank information. I wasn't required to have an inspection, although I did. I wasn't required to have all of these things that a bank requires that would generate information about me to the other people, possibly, potentially. So when I moved here, everybody warred against me. My neighbors would approach everybody that worked here and told them to not work on my property. One neighbor told somebody who actually confided to, actually 2 people told me that they were told to not work here because I don't pay people. Really? I think it's you guys that don't pay people. Aren't you the ones that had that balloon payment that came due, that you had to sell some of your property to pay? After all these years you're living here in this remote rural area where you can live for practically nothing, you still didn't pay off your goddamn mortgage in 50 years, whatever? Please. But you approach all of the people that work here, threaten them that if they continue to work on my property, they continue to clean my property, that they will include them in their lawsuit against me. Really? You're going to sue somebody for cleaning my property? Okay. I'm still waiting for you to get your land survey. Still waiting. Counting the minutes, the hours, the years for your land survey to disprove mine. Go ahead. I'm still waiting. I'm sure maybe the local fusion center granting will provide you the money in the future to purchase your legal land survey. Okay? I'm still waiting, twiddling my thumbs. So now, these gang stalkers, whatever you want to call them, they are organized community groups. They are a mob. And when I say mob, it's because there's a difference between mobbing and stalking. Stalking is generally done, it could be a group of people. But when an official person is aware of it and is complicit, engaging in it, or does nothing and ignores it, it is now called mobbing. It's no longer stalking. And that's fact. There are multiple books on it, on what mobbing is. The distinction between mobbing and stalking. Stalking can be done by groups of people. However, if there is a public official, a cop, a sheriff, an attorney, somebody who is in a position to make it stop, a human resources manager, a manager of your corporation, you go to them and you tell them what's happening to you, they do nothing. Then that complicity, that ignorance about helping, it's called mobbing. You need to expose the organized persecution, the smear campaign, the warnings about the targeted victim, the tactics they use, and the gang stalking subculture. Okay? So this is the document that I received, folks. Oh, wait. One other thing. And this is another key tool. If you own a house and people start moving out around you, you know, they move out, people move, and then new people move in, this is how you can tell that they're set up to purchase that property, that house. So remember I told you about the story about Ronnie and Doreen who lived diagonally across from me. They were my neighbors. We had house parties and block parties and stuff, and Ronnie was a piece of work. Like, he harassed people. He just had this nasty personality about him. But anyway, when they sold that house, gorgeous, beautifully landscaped house, when they sold it, the people that moved in, one of the first things they did is they removed, cut down every tree, every shrub, everything that beautified the exterior of that house. Everything. Removed it all. And then that was one of the lookout people because it gave them a direct view to my house. And then a direct view to the next neighbor that moved in. When Andy and Chris sold their house that they had been living in for about 20, 25 years, when they moved out, they sold their house to Steve and Vicky. The only one that really lived there was Steve and his brother-in-law. And all they did was watch me all day long. And then they would have a guy come with Connecticut license plates. He was bald. He looked like a thug. That's all I can say. He looked like a thug. And I could tell that afterwards that he was one of those real estate mobbers, okay? He's the kind of guy that goes in and wrecks your house. He tells you what to do to wreck a house. So what they did is, and this is true, it took them a month to move in. I don't really know too many people that spend $550,000 on a house and then just don't move in. And then they literally hardly moved anything in. It's not like they were living there. They really weren't. They were actually living somewhere else and took up residency in that house to surveil me 24/7 and harass me. This is how you can tell when you are going to be set up, because the police are all in on it. They have to be aware of it. If you hire a private detective, they're literally required to tell the local police department that they are on call there just in case anybody reports them. And that's what I was told by a private detective. So anyway, let's get on to the leaked DHS document. And thank you, subscriber, for sending it to me. Now, I'm going to say this is for educational purposes. You'll have to do your own research. So there are 3 pages here. I don't know what particular order they are in. I'm just going to read you the shortest one first and then get to the others. So now, let me just zoom in here. See what this says. The heading is blackened out, so it's very hard to read. The top of the page says tip green. Tip green. And this is the advice. Hearing the following keywords or phrases suggests you are likely dealing with a person who self-identifies as a doxer targeted individual. If you encounter such an individual and you feel threatened, call 911. And these are some of the key words that they will throw at you so that you can determine whether or not they are a targeted individual or that they identify as. And I'm just going to say, first off, folks, I identify as a female. I'm a biological female. I have an undergraduate degree in psychology, abnormal, deviant, and violent psychology, and I graduated with honors. I identify as an educated woman. I have a master's degree, and I also graduated with honors. And I'm a member of the Psychi Honor Society. That's how I identify. Okay? So now, targeted justice is some of the key words. Targeted individual, TI, gang stalking, organized gang stalking, voice to skull technology, V2K, directed energy weapons, DO. References to racketeering, influenced, and corrupt organizations, the RICO Act, and the Geneva Convention on Human Trafficking. I don't know, guys. These are laws. This is bona fide technology. Directed energy weapons exist. V2K exists. This is government technology. Organized stalking has been going on since Stasi, Germany. Targeted individual are watch-listed people. Targeted justice is an organization. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. And I'll just say for the record, I don't identify with targeted justice because, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not a member. If any flyers or packages containing a cease and desist letter are received by email, mail, or in-person delivery, report this activity to your local security office. Local law enforcement and or the FBI suspicious emails can be reported to www.ic3gov. The LIR was disseminated from OPS Information Sharing and Analysis Unit. Direct any requests and questions to your FBI private sector coordinator at your local FBI field office. You can go to https www.fbi.gov, contact us field offices. So I'm going to say for the record, a cease and desist letter is a legal method for telling anyone that you want them to stop the behavior. Sort of like the cease and desist letter I sent to my neighbor about her dogs at large trespassing my property and eating my chickens. That is a bona fide cease and desist letter. Or how about the cease and desist letter that I sent about trespassing my property and harassing me and tearing down my gate, wearing a black ski mask and threatening a worker on my property? I don't know. I have never reported anything regarding voice-to-skull technology, directed energy weapons, not even in a FOIA request, not anything. That's not what I address. I address bona fide trespassing with proof, evidence. If you want to gaslight me about what you're doing, go right ahead. I'll continue to send those cease and desist letters. And actually, fuckers, I reported you to the FBI. How about that? So anyway, let's move on to the next page. Let's see. Okay, so now this is a little bit longer page. And this page says, it's a download, okay? It's a download. And let me see if I could read these words. It's all like gibberish at the top. But let me expand it because it's very hard to read. It's darkened here. 1 second. I'm going to get my glasses. And I advise anyone to send a legal cease and desist letter. If somebody is trespassing your property and you caught them on camera, if you've got a video of them destroying your property, you sent them a cease and desist letter. If their dogs are at large, not wearing identification, you send them a cease and desist letter. Okay. Now, this download says, remove your name from people search lists and personal information about you or family members. Oh, so they're advising the stalkers. They are advising the people that harass you to remove their name from people search lists and personal information about them and their family members. Create multiple usernames and email addresses. Change your passwords often and use strong passwords, mixing letters, numbers, and symbols. Do not reuse passwords for multiple accounts. Monitor online personal information, including what others post about you on social networking sites. Be aware of data sharing and sites that sell your personal information. Monitor credit reports. Use a multi-factor authentication. Be careful when giving out personal contact information and do not reuse passwords for multiple accounts. Increase social network privacy settings, such as disable public visibility of your social media accounts. That's a good idea. Indicators of online doxers identified as quote-unquote targeted individuals threatening their victim include and are not limited to the documented activities listed below. Now, do you hear the way they twisted this? They're calling targeted people, watch-listed people, as online doxers, threatening their victims. So they're turning it around that the criminals that are trespassing and stalking your property, harassing you, threatening you, following you around, they're the victims. That sounds like the work of the devil. The devil loves to twist and turn things backwards and forwards. Reversals. Okay? So these are the indicators of of the fact that you're dealing with an online doxer, one of those targeted individuals that are watch listed. They're placed on a covert watch list by a malignant narcissist to get even because their egos were hurt. They felt very upset that somebody disagreed with them. It was such a shame. Disseminating flyers and or cease and desist letters accusing them of attacking civilians with psychological torture techniques taped to the door of their private residence or posted online. I've never done that. Hand delivering to neighbor residences conspiracy letters stating their neighbors are federal government employees alleging involvement in criminal activity, questioning how federal government personnel could afford their homes on government salaries, and listing their address and open source tax appraisal value of their home. I don't know. Have any of you guys ever done any of this? Have you hand delivered information to your neighbors' homes? I've never done that. I don't even remember the last time I walked past my neighbor's house because I generally go in the other direction. Hand delivering letters to their victims' residential mailbox. Oh, well, guess what? I know for a fact that my neighbor drove more than a half an hour away to deposit a handwritten threat letter. A handwritten threat to the worker on my property who was testifying before the local judge the night before the hearing. Oh, so let's reverse it. My neighbor hand-delivered a handwritten letter into the mailbox of the home address of my worker who lived more than a half an hour away the night before our court date. And on that letter, she used the exact wording of the heading of the county prosecutor's reporting form. Do you hear that? The exact wording that is listed on the county prosecutor, the county lawyer's reporting form, the form that I would fill out for a restraining order, an order of protection, or that my witness completed as a signed witness statement. How did my neighbor gain my worker's home address a half an hour away and drove and had the audacity to put a threatening letter in his mailbox? Is that what they're referring to? I don't know. Okay, so now this is another indicator of an online doxer identified as a targeted individual. Delivering packages addressed to the victim at their place of employment with a return address to targeted justice. You hear that? So they're calling our stalkers, our trespassers, our tormentors, the ones that are being protected by your sheriff's department, by my favorite Bureau of Investigation. They are calling those people victims. The people that are harassing us and trespassing, they are calling them victims. Disseminating doxing email entitled Cease and Desist Letter, alleging the identified executives were engaging in gang stalking and or email demanding an explanation for these activities and compensation for pain, suffering, and illegal torture. Oh, Well, I actually brought my neighbors to court, and I provided an inordinate amount of evidence. And I gave the judge an invoice for the bona fide damage costs I incurred for the cost of the first gate, the second gate, and the third gate that is still standing, including, but not limited to, the cost of installation. I am the victim of neighbor harassment, stalking, and vandalism. Me. If anyone sends a cease and desist letter, it is because you are a victim of their harassment. Sort of like the IED that was thrown on my driveway. Oh, but they're the victim? They are the victim. They're the victim. Okay. So anyway, at the bottom of this, there's some information. I cannot read it all, even when I expand it. I can't read it at all. Now, the next page, it's also a download. It's dated February 14, Valentine's Day, 2020. It says cross sector at the top. There's a document number. It's hard to read it. Let me see how much more I can expand this. There's a document number at the top. It says like LIC 28021 4800. Don't quote me on that. Each time I expand it, it gets more blurred. So now this is where it gets good, guys. This is getting good now. Now this might have been the cover letter. I don't know. But here we go. The FBI Houston, in correlation with InfraGard, the Houston Police Department, Houston Regional Intelligence Service Center, and the FBI's Office of Private Sector, OPS, prepared this LIR to inform private sector and law enforcement partners of its in-person and online doxing, potentially putting private sector, local, state, and federal government individuals at risk of cyberstalking. Do you hear the reversal here? The twisting? They are alerting. This is an alert sent and prepared to inform the private sectors and law enforcement partners of in-person and online doxing, potentially putting private sector, local, state, and federal government individuals at risk of cyberstalking. Okay, I just have to add something here. I am a victim of a cyberstalker for an entire year. Entire year. I have zero tolerance. Zero. Everybody knows who he is. He's of the primate identifier. The primate identifier. For a whole year, unwanted cyberstalking, phone calls, emails, threats, harassment, criticizing me, creating videos about me and disseminating them God knows where. But here you've got this piece of paper The FBI in Houston, Texas, in coordination with InfraGard, the Houston Police Department, Houston Regional Intelligence Service Center, and the FBI's Office of Private Sector, they prepared this document to inform law enforcement partners and private sectors about these online people. That you guys, the criminals, are at risk because of us. The victims of online doxing are located in cities such as Houston, Texas, LA, California, New York, which is New York City, Washington, D.C., Boston, Massachusetts, Arizona, Colorado, and Florida. Now, this is from 2020, so it's 4 years old. An online website is calling for its members to begin doxing more victims in other cities and states. Now, they are actually sending this to your police departments, that we are doing this to them. The online doxing is publicly posted and includes personal information such as residential addresses, telephone and email, property value, and employer information associated with board members in the private sector, as well as state, local, and federal officials. They are saying that we are posting this information about them. In one city, in-person harassment included hand-delivered cease and desist letters to victims. They're calling the perpetrators victims. And these victims they're calling are private sector stakeholders associated with InfraGard, Office of Emergency Management Personnel, and federal government executives, residential addresses and places of employment, as well as flyers distributed to neighbors accusing the victim involved in gang stalking. They're claiming that your neighbors that participate, that trespass your property, that harass you, that spread slander, that approach your workers on your property to tell them to not work there because I don't pay them, that they are the victims. The FBI of Houston wrote this letter to disseminate. Now again, I cannot confirm or deny the accuracy or the legitimacy of what I'm reading to you. I'm merely reading what is allegedly a leaked document. And this is for your educational purposes. It's for educational and research purposes. So in one city, in-person harassment included hand-delivered cease and desist letters. And so according to the website, quote-unquote, gang stalking is the practice of attacking civilians with psychological torture techniques, including stalking, harassment, and intimidation. The website identifies personally identifiable information, PII, through publicly available sources such as county housing appraisal and tax records, Veripages.com, databasesearch.com. Based on a review of statements made on the website, the site lists over 100 targeted individual websites in the U.S. and foreign countries. The actor's activity includes mining the internet for PII, personal identifiable information, from social media platforms, public databases for addresses, websites, which contain resumes. The actors, they're calling the victims, they're calling the watch-listed people placed on the covert watch list for illegal experimentation and mind control experimentations and asset stripping, the land grab, the psychiatric reprisal. They are calling those actors the ones that use the information to conduct online doxing against individuals associated with the FBI, my favorite Bureau of Investigation, DHS fusion centers. You know, there's 80 of them. The fusion centers collect all the data from everybody, not just targeted people, the whole United States. Everybody, guys, the fusion centers know everything about you. And InfraGard. And as we know, the research that I performed on InfraGard is they are the little FBI. And after the research I conducted on InfraGard, my goodness gracious, all their names disappeared from InfraGard Kentucky. It's no longer online. Why would that be? They're not open to FOIA requests. However, in one city targeted by the actors, the activity was followed by in-person physical targeting and harassment of public-private individuals. Protecting your PII in the digital age. So what they're doing is, it says the FBI suggests use of good cyber hygiene, such as reputable antivirus, malware software, firewall, and personal computer use practices, to include to be aware of public records such as tax and housing appraisal records. I'm going to give you some information, folks. I'm going to tell you exactly who the perpetrators are. When I was in court with my neighbor waiting to be heard, my witness pulled up a Google search of my property, and we zoomed in, and someone flew a drone over my property, photographed my new driveway installation, and posted it to Google Maps. When I moved here, my house was not located on Google Maps. It was not located. You could not find it. But suddenly, someone threw a drone over my property, photographed it, and included it on Google Maps without my permission. So I'm going to read this last paragraph again. So, according to the website, GangStalking, quote unquote, is the practice of attacking civilians with psychological torture techniques, including stalking, harassment, and intimidation. They're claiming that we are the perpetrators and they are the victims. This is being disseminated in the communities where the targeted person lives to cause the people around us to fear us based upon this false, fake information. And also that primate individual that created videos about me, he would mock me. And he created a video and said he knew exactly where I lived. And he started disseminating it. Who is the victim and who is the perpetrator here? So I think we should all heed the FBI's suggested use of good cyber hygiene, such as getting a reputable antivirus, malware software, firewall, and personal computer practices, to include to beware of public records, such as taxing and housing appraisal records. So who are the perpetrators here? This was allegedly disseminated in Houston, Texas, to the Houston Police Department, to the Houston FBI's Office of Private Sector. to the Houston law enforcement partners, in person and online, calling us, the victims, doxers. That anybody who utilizes the term gang stalking and targeted individual are the ones attacking the criminals. It's called plausible deniability, pass the buck, stonewalling, gaslighting. Just call it for what it is. Everybody should know by now that the fusion centers collect data. They're the ones that create the dossier. And they're the ones that distribute it to InfraGard. And InfraGard works under the FBI. And they're not subject to FOIA requests. So I look forward to your questions and comments down below. I'm at the 45-minute mark here. I don't want to overextend my welcome here. I've got other things to do also. But thank you so much, subscriber, for providing these documents. And once again, I cannot confirm or deny the validity of these documents. I'm merely reading them to you as I see them, as a possibility of the types of documents that are being disseminated in your community, reversing it, where the victim is the perpetrator and the people that are warring against you, that they are the victims. Okay? They specify Houston, Texas, LA, California, New York, which is New York City, Washington, D.C., Boston, Massachusetts, Arizona, Colorado, and Florida. Since this is 4 years ago, we can add every state in the United States. And as long as they're at it, you can add the UK, Australia, Japan, China, New Zealand, I don't know, who else? Germany. It's all over the world. And it is a fact, that the Stasis in Germany utilize these practices that are now being used in the good old USA against regular citizens, regular people. But it's Satan's agenda to reverse everything. Good is bad, bad is good. Black is black, black is white, white is black. Men are women, women are men. Let's confuse everybody. So anyway, that's my rant for this evening. It's not evening yet. But this is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. Please hit the thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Hopes the channel grow. Oh, and, we expose organized persecution, the smear campaign, the warning about the targeted, their tactics, the gang stalking subculture, Citizen Corp, Neighborhood Watch, cops, citizens on patrol, funded by the Department of Justice. And then there's the psychological operations. Psychiatric reprisal is to punish the truth teller. Punish the truth teller. It's psychological warfare. They want to influence the opinions, emotions, and behavior of the enemy. And who's involved? Corrupt cops, fake incident reports. There are citizen informants that we call perps. And FBI whistleblower. Let's see if I can get his book here. Stephen Friend. Stephen Friend, FBI whistleblower, in his book. True Blue. It's called True Blue. Let's see if I can find it here. Here it is. He says that the Sheriff's Department does not have to go along with these programs. They can turn them away. Okay? You want to support a whistleblower? Buy his book. I'm not affiliated with him. I just have the book. Anyway, this is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading, signing off for now.